So the week was actually fantastic, right from the first day when I met up with the boys. I hadn't met a single one of them ever before, and but I felt like I already knew them because I'd studied their profiles, their playing histories, etc. Been in touch with most of them on WhatsApp quite frequently, just leading up to the event and while they were traveling over. So, but the moment we met up and everything like felt very natural right from the start, and I think that was really good. The boys themselves had a very good spirit from the beginning. Everybody respected everybody else. There seemed to be absolutely zero issues with anybody other than, of course, quite a few of them had their golf bags missing the first day. Some of them had their luggage missing, so they didn't have clothes to change into. So that was a bit of a challenge, but maybe that helped lighten up the mood and put everybody in a in a different spirit. So the start of the week was really important. I think that set the tone, and nobody was complaining. Nobody had anything negative to say. Everybody was in a very positive, upbeat mood, and it pretty much stayed like that right through the whole week. And I think that was a big key. Just fortunately, I didn't have to do a lot, right? The guys were all really good. We all sat together. We had, I was having breakfast with all of them individually. I'd probably spend 2.5 hours at the breakfast room because they were coming in one by one because the tea times were staggered. Try to spend as much time with them at breakfast or dinner and things like that on the range, wherever. And I think what was good is that there were some very natural pairs, and that was something we tried to keep in mind during the selection process. Although everything wasn't perfectly in our control, but things kind of fell in place. The two Japanese players, Yuta and Taichiro. I spoke to them both individually. They were very happy to play with each other, and in fact, they insisted they wanted to be partners throughout, and they were. Same thing happened with the Korean boys, Yubin Jang and Woo Young Cho. Also very accomplished players. I mean, they've both done really well on the pro tours, and they wanted to be together. I spoke to them both individually and figured that out. I figured out that the Aussies were very good buddies. Uh, so they were a natural fit and they trusted each other, knew each other's games completely. And, even the New Zealander boys, Joshua and Mako, they were good buddies and they got along. So things kind of fell into place. We were lucky in that aspect. And that really, really helped the team. I think that there were natural fits. CT, who's from Chinese Taipei, right, and Samson, who's playing from China, but he's half Japanese. Both of them play college golf, so they both spoke fluent English, and they were a natural fit as well. So, I had 5, 6 guys who were just pairs that were just natural fits, and that made my life very easy. Yeah, I think more than that, we tried to make sure that they really gelled well together as partners, and that's why what I said in my last reply, that we had these guys who were really gelling well together, and they just wanted to be together. They wanted to play with each other. I talked to all of them individually, and so I didn't want to mess that up, and I stuck with it. And post the event, some of those guys said, the fact that you stuck with the pairs. They thought that was a really good thing that I did. I think they all appreciated that. And yes, you're right. The place that we really shone is when you had to play as a partner, and particularly in foursomes in the third session, right? Day two morning. That's when we really took the decisive lead, 4.5 to half. We won that session. That was like dominant. We didn't lose a single match. We halved one and won the other 4 out of 5. So that's where you really need to gel well together, where you're playing alternate shots. And that's where our natural partnerships, I think, really helped. So we knew that Europe was going to come out with all guns blazing because, being 5 points down going into the singles, they really had to play with nothing to lose, right? So we know that in golf, sometimes if you're way back after 3 rounds and you come out, you're not protecting any lead, you're not protecting your position, you just go and play freely and you play aggressively. It changes everything. Your game can just turn around very quickly when you're in that frame of mind. Sometimes you have a bad front nine and you're like 3 or 4 over par, and then you just let it rip on the back nine and come back 5 under. It happens all the time. And so we knew they're going to lead with their strongest players and come out all guns blazing. But yes, we could have tried a tactic. We thought about it uh, because I knew they're going to lead with their top 3 or 4 players, right? So one tactic that came to mind was, why not send some of our weaker players right at the beginning? But honestly, I felt that's not in the spirit of the tournament. We should have the best playing against the best. And so we also led with our, best 3 or 4 players. But I did keep 2 or 3 of my strong players for, like matches 7, 8, 9, because we figured, or even 10, sorry, even 10, Utah played in match 10. And that was a conscious decision by me that I wanted a very strong player in match 10. Because I said, if it comes back to that, match 10 is where it should end, and that I really need a strong player. And that's actually what ended up happening. I mean, yes, we didn't expect to lose the first 4 matches, but we, we didn't create any panic among the players. So, yes, there was a lot of tension, but at least on my side, I don't know whether I was successful, but I didn't let the players feel that I was worried at any point. I just told them, look, we just need to buckle down. And right from the beginning, I told each one of them, you have to win your match. Just, that's all that counts. And right through, even though things were looking really bad, like right around hole 12, 13 in the afternoon, when we were down, and the projections were probably that we might even lose, because we had already lost the first 4 matches by then. At no point did I sound, at least I tried not to sound desperate to the players, but I just told them, listen, don't worry, just buckle down, just play one hole at a time. You can win your match. And maybe, God was kind, but 2 matches turned around drastically. 2 matches where we were down, three holes down after 9, and Jack Buchanan was down 3 holes after 10. And both those matches came back. Jack won his match on the 17th, so he won like 5 holes in a row, or 5 out of 6. But I never told him that Harrison lost his match until Jack's match was over, because Jack and Harrison are really good buddies. And I didn't tell Jack that Harrison had lost his match. He found out after he finished on 17. I didn't want any of the boys to feel any panic, and I think, all credit to them. They held their cool, and then finally it came down to Utah's match, and being the player he is, he won his match on the final hole, and that was the sort of decisive match. But I think Nguyen was a key guy, because he came back and halved his match, got us the half point, which meant that we couldn't lose the trophy, right? Even if Utah had lost his match, we would have done a tie and retained the trophy. But of course, we wanted to win it outright. And Utah just hit a brilliant bunker shot on the final hole, on the final green. He had a slightly downhill lie, kind of quite a bit of sand to carry, and then a downhill slope to the pin, and he hit it dead. I mean, the putt was conceded. So that was the winning shot that, won the whole thing for us. To be honest, in retrospect, maybe I would have done the thing that I thought about but didn't do, which is put 2, 3 guys, in the front and let those maybe matches go. But I didn't want anybody to get that feeling in their mind, to be honest, that, oh, I'm being sent out as a sacrificial lamb, because that's not good for your spirit, right? That's actually the reason I didn't want to do it, because I didn't want anybody to just be labeled as as a weak player. So I just said, but in retrospect, if I knew it was going to be so tight, I still didn't think it would come down to that, because I didn't think we'd lose the first 4 matches. And in retrospect, maybe the smarter thing would have been to do that and play it safe, and have a really strong midsection, and then just wrap up the last 8 matches or something like that. Yeah, I think super proud. These guys, they were all tightly knit. Everybody felt like they had a solid role to play. They were all rooting for each other. The guys who had finished their matches, they all came back on the last 5 holes and started caddying for the other boys whose matches were still out there. So Samson picked up the bag for Nguyen. Um, Yubin came. Sorry, Wu Yang Cho came up and picked up the bag for Yubin Jang, his partner from Korea. Taichiro came up and caddied for Utah in the last 4 5 holes, and Harrison came back and accompanied Jack in the last couple of holes. So and they had already played these holes, right? Some of them, so they kind of knew some of the things that were happening on the greens. There were some treacherous spin positions, etc. On particularly on 17, and it was a windy afternoon, so there was a lot happening out there, and I think that definitely helped get things over the line. So that spirit they showed. I didn't ask them to do it. They just they knew they had the option, and they all just came out and did it. you know and suddenly I looked around and I said, hey, these guys are all carrying bags. That's great, because I was busy running around on the cart and trying to keep track of the matches, because the live scoring was actually quite delayed. They had scorekeepers only after every 3 holes. So by the time the scores were getting updated, it was too late, on that critical part. So I was trying to keep track of every match, every hole, and this bit of the boys coming back and picking up the bags for the other guys. That was just a great gesture. And yeah, so super proud of the spirit they showed.